What's going on, Dolphins fans? It's Connor from the Dolphins Dive, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the tight end position ahead of the 2023 training camp. Now, I know on paper this position is very lackluster in comparison to the rest of the roster, but...
Well, that's unfortunate because it sucks ass.
I think there is some high hopes to be had for some of the younger players, such as a Tanner Conner and Elijah Higgins. So I'm going to break that all down in today's video. So starting first, I'm going to name every single player on the roster at that position, starting with the returners in Durham Smythe and Tanner Conner. Newly added in free agency, Eric Saubert and Tyler Croft. We drafted Elijah Higgins out of the draft and then selected Julian Hill as an undrafted free agent. So we have 6 tight ends currently under contract. Last year we kept 5, but I honestly expect us to probably keep 4 of these guys heading into the 2023 season. So obviously, a departure from the position is obviously Mike Gesicki going to the Patriots because he's a traitor, and that'll be vacating 505 snaps. But keep in mind that was also kind of a big slot receiver role, which can be filled by some of the guys at the tight end position, but could also be taken away from receivers as well. So just keep that in mind, but there's about 500 snaps up for grabs for the position. In terms of the different kind of usages in this offense, the primary usage for tight ends is going to be an inline guy for blocking purposes to help set the tone in the run game, and then whatever you can get out of them in the passing game is very nice. You think about the similar offenses, you have George Kittle in San Francisco, Mercedes Lewis in Green Bay was always there. Sean McVay always has pretty solid blocking tight ends. Some of them are great receivers, aka George Kittle. The Rams guys have had success, but the key foundation for the position is to be able to block. And I think for those roles, for our starting tight end, I feel like it's mainly going to be up in the air between Durham Smythe and Eric Saubert competing for that tight end 1 job. Now, believe me, I would love to see the athletes in Tanner Conner or Elijah Higgins be great blockers and have the receiving prowess. I don't think they have the blocking capability to be the starting tight end for us. I think they can find a role in the niche on this offense. I just don't think they're going to be able to be that main guy. So for tight end 1, I think it's a competition between Durham Smythe and Eric Saubert. Saubert we got out of Denver. He's got pretty solid blocking skills, and he's got surprising athleticism for the position as well. I remember there's a highlight of him catching like a 30-yard seam from Russell Wilson last season. That was quite impressive. I didn't expect him to be that athletic. So I think for tight end 1, it's going to be between those blocking, main blocking kind of guys. Now, you have the receiving ability of Tanner Conner and Elijah Higgins, I think, competing for a different kind of role, similar to the Mike Gesicki role as a big slot receiver. Can line up in line, but they're not going to be expected to do all that much blocking. And they're just going to continue to try and not be a liability rather than being good. But hopefully, if they can develop as high-level blockers, that'll help take this offense to the next level. Because if you have great blocking along with their athleticism, it makes it that much more difficult to stop. So I think for the 2 roles, tight end 1, inline blocker, Durham Smythe versus Eric Saubert, big slot receiver between Tanner Conner and Elijah Higgins. For the tight end 1 in blocking role, I think Durham Smythe is going to end up on top. And for the receiving role, I see Tanner Conner. Both of these guys have more experience than the other guys in this scheme, so I feel like that gives them the leg up. Tanner Conner is actually a guy I would look out for. He hasn't shown us any reason why we should be. He had a great training camp last year, and he ended up getting hurt. And I thought, dang, that sucks. He's probably going to get cut. And despite his injuries, the Dolphins chose to keep him on the roster over some very good players. River Craycraft ended up getting cut. And there's a couple other surprise cuts that I was surprised that Tanner Conner made it over. So the coaching staff belief in him and an extra year developed, learning the position, learning to be able to block, adding size, I think is going to do him a lot of good. And I think there's potential that he continues to develop into a phenomenal tight end. So he's this little sneaky guy that I think the coaching staff has been grooming for a year now to develop into a potential starting tight end for us. So I'd watch out for Tanner Conner ahead of this training camp to potentially make a sneaky run for the starting tight end job. But as of now, I see him probably being our more athletic tight end as a big slot receiver similar to Mike Gesicki and fending off Elijah Higgins for that role. So overall, out of the 6 tight ends, obviously, that were previously named, Four of them are bigger bodies that are probably good for blocking. Like I said, Durham Smythe, Eric Saubert, Tyler Croft, who we signed late in free agency, and Julian Hill, who's an undrafted free agent, but he's like 6'4", 250. So the bigger guys you expect to have pretty good blocking prowess. And then the two athletic receiving guys in Elijah Higgins, who we drafted, and Tanner Connor, who obviously we had from last season. I see four of them making the roster. Durham Smythe as our starting tight end, Tanner Connor as our starting big slot tight end that Mike Gesicki was last season, Eric Saubert as that similar role to Durham Smythe, potentially can beat him out for that tight end one job, and then Elijah Higgins, who we drafted, who gives him a leg up to make the roster since we spent a draft pick on him. So that's how I see the depth chart falling. Comment down below, though. What are your thoughts? Who do you see being our starting tight end? What are your thoughts ahead for Tanner Connor and Elijah Higgins? Are you as excited as I am? But that's all I've got for you guys today. Like and subscribe to help the channel grow. It means so much to me. And that's all I got. So until next time, I'll catch y'all.